and I are going to present our final project, and we decided to have the project of implementing the public policy of Hoy No Circula, and we're going to explain it a little bit further. Uh, Next slide, please. So what's the description of the project is basically to create a bill to the state Congress to propose the implementation of Hoy No Circula, which is a program that is in Mexico City. And the idea for this program is to combat climate change and pollution, and especially in Monterrey, to attack the dependence of automobiles that Monterrey society has, and also promoting the use of the collective transport system. Next slide, please. So some of the risks that can be presented during the implementation are, first of all, the political, and politicians can be influenced by lobbying from companies that fall in a bit of a disadvantage, like the automobile industry, their companies. Given that Nuevo León is the new home for Tesla, the creation of this bill can be a little bit, it is not congruent if we decide to implement it, as well as given that Nuevo León has a massive automobile industry, Tesla, and other stuff. In the economic risks are that the use of the constant public transportation system, like subway, bus, and the ecovia, can create a boost on the money that is perceived uh, in the earnings with the state and the municipalities, as well as this can be used to improve the system. On the other hand, having fewer cars can affect the impact the gasoline prices, given the demand and supply, and the prices can be lowered to a point where there is more supply at a better price as well. And in security, there can be fewer crashes because there are less cars in the city. And something that we have to take into consideration is that a lot of people don't use the public transportation system because they think that it's unsafe, given the cases of sexual harassment and robberies while transporting. So some streets as well don't have the proper paving, so an accident is in the picture. And the last one you can't see on the slide, it's the social one. So we know that given that Monterrey, it's a very automobile focused society, there can be some discomfort from citizens that won't use their cars, and they can be directly affected by this program. And as well, there will be a collapse at the beginning of the program, given that the transport system won't be reaching the full capacity of people that it can help. So next slide, please. Okay, so the relevance of the problem. We know that the study that if you live in Monterrey, it's like you're smoking like 3 cigarettes a day. So that's a lot. And so the Hoy No Circula, it's relevant because it talks about pollution. So this policy can also help reducing traffic congestions, given the major streets, I'm sorry, like Leones, Gonzalitos, Morones Prieto, Constitución, Miguel Alemán, amongst many others. So given that this policy, is designed to limit the numbers of the cars, they can reduce emissions, which cause respiratory illnesses, heart disease, and also cancer. So the way this can be seen as an ethical way is to promote, first of all, sustainable development. Uh, Second of all, ethics, equity, and fairness, as the government is the one that is contributing, or not the government, but the policies that the government makes are contributing to garbage waste and air pollution. So this way is for them to make up to whatever they are doing. Next slide, please. So first proposed timeline, we changed it given the understanding of how to create a public policy. The first thing to do is to propose a restriction and to give it to the Congress. So they signed that they received it. They have to talk about it with many other groups and actors like citizens, owners, etc. If this passes, the state Congress approves the policy in within 1 or 2 months. And then a public education campaign is launched. This will be later explained on our actions. And the program goes into effect, and therefore the evaluation of the program is moving forward. And next slide, please. So this is all my part for now. I'm going to come back.
Hello and good evening. My name is Miranda Mohamed, and I'm going to be talking about the identification of the problem. And next slide, please. So I'm going to give a little bit of a background onto this problem and why we decided to do the Hoy No Circula in Monterrey. So globalization has given the population lots of advantages as well as disadvantages, but mostly the disadvantages that we are talking about today are that we can be directly affected by the rapid consumerism and the overproduction of products and the rapid rate of consumption that people have adapted to because of the current state of capitalism. So we relate everything to the current economical system that we have, that is capitalism, that is based on overproduction and always like wanting the new thing and getting rid of things very rapidly and consuming others, such as iPhones, that is iPhone 6, iPhone 6S, 6E, 7, and so on. So it's always that I want the newest thing. So this is the issue in the background. And next, please. So, what are some of the issues that have come from globalization? It's the factories produce increasingly faster. As I said, petroleum consumption is way increased. The plastic usage as well is very rapid consumption, such as bottles of water. Everything is made of plastic, so the consumption is really, really fast, and there are not enough strategies to recycle or reduce these materials. Also, textile and fabric overproduction, meat consumption that is terrible for water because it uses lots of water, and deforestation that is also an issue. Next, please. So, what is the delimitation of the area? We are delimiting the problem and the issue here in Monterrey, Nuevo León, and we are applying the Hoy No Circula here in Monterrey, Nuevo León. Next, please. So, some of the facts that we have are from INEGI, and we have that the major polluting sources of air quality are the companies that produce, extract, and process products that leave contaminated residues in the atmosphere. Other sources are water treatment, agricultural burning, fuel storage, burning fuel, and automobiles. So we acknowledge that one of the major facts is that companies, we cannot say that the major issue is automobiles, but it is one of the main issues. We recognize that the main issue are companies, and because it's a problem all around the world, and in Monterrey specifically, it's an industrial city, so we have lots of factories that are all around the city, and we have this for our main issue. But also one of the secondary issues that are also really contaminant and that proceed is automobiles, because there are a lot of people in Monterrey right now, and there are still more and more people who are consuming more and more automobiles and fossil fuels. And this is why we decided to do the Hoy No Circula, because we, as the government, does not have a correct system of mobilization and public transportation. So there are a lot of cars in the city. Next, please. So fossil fuels in Monterrey compose a very big factor on the constant pollution and bad air quality. And that is why we believe that the Hoy No Circula project implementation will be of great help cleaning the air quality and decreasing the contaminant particles that citizens in Monterrey are constantly breathing. And with Hoy No Circula, citizens in Monterrey would have a better air quality and thus a better lifestyle and a better life quality. And this is why we want to implement this policy here in Monterrey, because we are a lot of people and the air quality is very bad. There are days that your cell phone, or yeah, your weather cell phone says air quality is really bad. We do not recommend to go outside, and this is because we are over consuming the fossil fuels, and um, contamination is a big issue right now. And yes, next slide, please. This is all for my part right now, but I'm going to come back. Thank you for now.
Okay, so this is my next part. We have to discuss how ethics can be uh, intertwined with this issue. First of all, one ethical dimension of contamination in Monterrey is responsibility. As I said before, the ones that pollute are the ones that must take responsibility, because companies such as Cemex, such as the one that makes steel, and many others. We know that Nuevo León is a state that is known for its companies and the industries, but they contaminate and they pollute the air, and they are not responsible for their actions. So we must take that into consideration. Another one is that contamination has a very disproportionate impact on many vulnerable communities, and this also affects justice on an ethical vision. For example, Las Pedreras are located in the northern south of the city, and we know that, first of all, many or the majority of the young people that live in Monterrey live in the northern part of the city, so there are less schools, there are a lot more industries, the air quality is very poor comparing to the south of the city, where there are a lot of trees, there are a lot of universities and stuff. So almost all of the politicians live in the south of the city, so it's kind of tricky to know or to pinpoint where the injustice comes from in vulnerable communities. So that's an example. And the third of all is the social and environmental impacts on human health, and how the world, due to contamination, can have long lasting effects. As I said at the beginning of the presentation, living in Monterrey and uh, breathing the air that it's nowadays, it's like smoking, I think, 3 cigarettes a day. So people that don't smoke, people that have lung issues, that have cancer, it's very prejudicial for them to be breathing this air. But we can't do nothing because it's much more than just planting trees. It's more of an interconnected issue. So the government, the population, and the companies must take action in this. Yeah, so that's all for my part. Thank you for the attention. Yes. Next slide, please.
Okay, now I am going to continue with the objectives and goals of this project. Next slide, please. First of all, and one thing that we have already mentioned a lot, it's regarding the health, health department. We want to protect health of the citizens of Monterrey. We know that many people nowadays all around the world are concerned about the health impacts that pollution has, also the toxins and other environmental issues. So creating this program can help us reduce the exposure to these hazards and promote a healthier living environment. We also know that right now in Monterrey we are suffering a really bad air quality, which is really affecting the life of the citizens, mostly in allergies, people respiratory issues. So we know that implementing this project can help us reduce that, since the contamination caused by automobiles it's really contributes to this issue. Another objective is to support sustainable development. Right now, it's a really important issue to make the cities more sustainable, and a lot of people recognize the importance of the economic development. But we have to know that it's also important to protect the well-being of the citizens as well of the natural resources. So we cannot put as a priority economic development when we have our citizens living the consequences that are caused by the contamination that produces this economic development. Also, we want to balance the needs and wants of Monterrey society, but also assure that we have a protection of its natural resources. And those are the three main objectives that we have. Next slide, please. And well, regarding our more specific goals, what we want to do is that we want to establish by 2023 the Hoy No Circula program in Monterrey and its metropolitan area. Also reduce at 30% the carbon emissions that are generated by private transportation by 2025. Also by 2025, improve public transportation in all aspects like commodity, accessibility, and security. So a lot of, or a vast majority of Monterrey's population is able to use it instead of preferring to have a private transportation mode. And also by 2025, create a card that allows to connect all public transportation, including buses, subway, Ecovía, Transmetro, amongst others, in order to improve the user accessibility. And that's it for those parts.
Okay, now I'm going to talk about the activities that we are going to do in order to accomplish our objectives. One of the first activities is to do public awareness campaigns. They will be done by creating a social media campaign that encourages the use of alternative ways of transportation, and not only the cars, such as bicycles, public transport, carpooling, etc. And it provides incentives for, we will also look forward to provide incentives for individuals that choose to use these alternative modes of transportation. Also, another activity that we will do is to have vehicle inspections. There are a lot of cars that are not in the best conditions, and as a consequence, they pollute more. So it will be important to increase these inspections to ensure that all vehicles on the road have that are part or that comply with certain standards, and this will help to eliminate, or in a great way, to those polluting vehicles from the streets. Also, another activity that will be done is the strict enforcement of the policy. It is very common that once a policy is goes out to the public, it is often ignored, but it will be important to have like a very specific set of rules that helps us to have this enforcement of the policy and to really
get people to do to be part of this program. Also, it will be important to do another activity that is the investment in public transport. Um, in Monterrey, public transport, there are a lot of problems with it, especially in commodity, also in terms of security. Um, People have to make lines in order to use them. So it will be important that if we are not promoting the use of the car, uh, we have to invest in public transport so people can have this alternative. Also, to have green spaces in downtown areas. One of the best ways to combat pollution is to have trees. Monterrey is known for having a lot of or not having green spaces. Uh, there's a lack of green spaces in the city. If you go out into the street, there are not many trees around. So it will be important to implement these areas. Also, related to the first activity that was the public awareness campaign, it will be to have incentives for low emission vehicles. Um, well, now in expected results, by doing these activities, we will hope that people will become more aware of the consequences of using the automobile as a main form of transportation. Um, it will be important to people to notice that uh, when in cooperation and when if all people uh, gets along with the plan, it will be better for everyone. Also, one of the expected results that is related to activities is to improve the quality of the public transportation, including its accessibility, comfort, security, cost, and others. Also, related to the green areas, another expected result will be that the urbanization projects will take into consideration the context of its inhabitants and making the streets more comfortable for people in general, not making them not to use a car as the only way of transportation. And that will be it for my part. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to the itinerary. And next, please. So with the expected results, we have the itinerary as well. Can you go a little bit? Thank you. For the public awareness campaign, that is our first activity, we expect to start this year, June 5th, so in just a few days, and to be finished to 2024 at July, so approximately a little bit more of a year. Yeah, it'd be like 13 months. Then for the second activity, we have the alternative transportation options. So we have that it will start on August 16th of this year and it will finish on 2026. We are going to finish on 2026 because this is the year when we are going to reevaluate the project and see how much it has worked and how much of an effect we have, and if we need to modify some of the aspects that we are expecting to see. For the third activity, we have the vehicle inspections. So this will start on September 10th of this year, and it will finish on 2024. We don't have a month for that because we are still working on the estimated timing, and we are going to try to make all of this year and all of the other years. So probably January, we're going to finish that. Then for the fourth activity, we have strict enforcement of the policy that is going to start on October 15 of this year and it will finish on October of 2026. So this will be all of the 3 years that we have this project, and then we are going to reevaluate. The policy needs to be strictly um, enforced. Then for the fifth activity, we have investment in public transport infrastructure. So we have that this is going to start around the 30th of October of this year and it will finish as well on the 2026 because we're how I said, we are going to reevaluate the project and see if we need um, alternations, alterations to the project. So yeah, we're going to have the 3 years because it is for Monterrey to change its infrastructure is going to take time. Then for the fifth activity, we have the green spaces in downtown areas. This we expect to see that it's going to start on November 17 and we're going to finish it on 2026. Still, we are trying to make that green areas we're going to try to make 5 per year or a little bit less, like 4 per year, but we are going to finish on 2026. So there are a lot of green areas that will help the air quality be better. And then we continue with incentives for low emission vehicles. These we're going to start on December 20 of this year and will finish on 2025. We are not going to be doing the incentives for all of the years because we need to have the budget also for the other things that we have. So we have a specific budget for this activity. So it's going to end on 2025. The other slide, please, or a little bit to. Yes, and that is all for my part. Thank you.
Okay, now just to finish up with the budget, we have it divided in two parts. We have salaries and wages, and the second part, materials and supplies. For a project coordinator, we have a salary of 40,000 pesos, Mexican pesos per month. Also, we have an outreach coordinator for 25,000 pesos a month, a research assistant for 20,000 pesos a month, and an administrative assistant for 18,000 pesos a month. In the part of materials and supplies, we have printed materials like vouchers, flyers, etc. We have 5,000 pesos. For promotional items like t-shirts, bags, we have 3,000 pesos. For transportation cost for the team members, we have 2,500 pesos. And finally, for office supplies like stationery, paper, we have 2,000, the same amount, 2,500 Mexican pesos. And well, that will be it for our. I'm sorry. Let's continue. I'm sorry. We have the part 3 of the budget, that is the technology and equipment. This includes computers, software, peripherals. We have a budget of 15,000 pesos for this. Regarding digital marketing and outreach, we have 10,000 pesos. And for audiovisual equipment, we have 5,000 pesos for this. Finally, for the programs and events, we have like workshops and seminars, we have 15,000 pesos. And to make like a community outreach and engagement program, we have 10,000 pesos estimated for it. Regarding transit passes for participants, we have 20,000 pesos. And finally, incentives, we have like 5,000 pesos. And this gives us a budget of 178,500 Mexican pesos. And that would be the total budget. And that will be it for our project. Thank you so much for your attention.